Today we're going to go over one of the more recent upgrades to my current system. Basically on the right is my previous system display that I had mounted on the front of my Thermaltake Core P5, basically covering or obscuring the power supply, but also showing at a glance all the system stats such as CPU and GPU temp, system loads, RAM usage, all that kind of stuff. And I think it kind of made the case look really nice by adding it. So I was really happy with it. But the one thing I didn't like about the previous display is that the viewing angles were pretty crappy. From where I sit, which I'll zoom out and kind of show you where I sit at my sit-stand desk. Basically, from that angle, from that chair, or if I was standing, the screen was really washed out, so it made it kind of tough to actually utilize the at-a-glance feature of the system setup. So essentially, what we have now is a tad bit larger. So I went from a 9-inch to a 10.1-inch display, but the biggest difference being is that it's now an IPS display versus a crappy LCD panel. The resolution actually is a little bit less. This one only goes up to 1200 by 800, but I actually have it scaled down even less than that to 800 by 600, just because at the full resolution scaling wise, it's really tough to read the text unless you're right in front of it. Again, I'm trying to utilize this at a glance from where I'm sitting, so did that. I think it turned out really well, but let's go ahead and kind of walk through exactly what I did to set it up. I've had a lot of questions both on my blog and my YouTube channel as to how I did this, so I went ahead and made a video to show just that. So let's go ahead and walk through step by step exactly what went into kind of setting this up on the current system. So the new display I'm utilizing is a ToeGuard 10.1-inch IPS display. I'll go ahead and put the Amazon link both in the video description and on my project blog. It did cost a bit more than the 9-inch one I was previously using, but the panel quality is a lot better, so worth it in my opinion. Here's a shot from the back of the display. Basically, we're going to utilize these 4 mounting holes in the back to secure the display to the GPU mounting bracket, and I'll kind of walk through how that is done in this video as well. Here's a shot of the bottom of the display showing all the ports. Again, all we really care about at this point is the 12-volt DC input for power, and then the HDMI display going directly from the graphics card to this display to show the system stats. Now the front plastic was made to look like brushed aluminum, and I probably would have just left it like this, but there was a big, ToeGuard logo on the bottom bezel, and I didn't like that, so I just went ahead and covered the entire front bezel with my custom carbon fiber vinyl wrap, which I've done on various other components of my system to kind of make it match. Here we just show the kind of the testing phase. I wanted to kind of test everything out, make sure the display is working properly before I actually went and made the mounting bracket. Basically, we just have plugged in here the HDMI from the GPU, and also again that 12-volt DC power input. Now note, this 12-volt input is coming directly from a 4-pin Molex connector. I'll show a better picture of kind of how I put that together to provide power to this display. Alright, before I put everything back together, I'll go ahead and show what I did here. So basically, I'm running power off of a 4-pin Molex connector that goes to this DC power plug on the inside of the case, which I'll show here in just a second. So pretty simple to wire directly to these displays, being that it all uses 12 volts. So that's nice and easy. And then here I'm just testing it out right now. I don't have it mounted yet, but you can see there's the DC power pin plugged in right there, again going through the bottom of the case and into there. So that's what powers the unit, and then HDMI directly from the graphics card to the display. So after verifying that everything did run okay on the display, that it would look the way I needed it to, I went ahead and started the creation of the actual mounting bracket. And so utilizing just some sheet metal I had laying around from another project, basically cut a piece that would work dimension-wise, and also measured out those 4 mounting screw holes and drilled those into this piece of sheet metal. So after drilling these 4 holes into the sheet metal, I went ahead and also utilized my bench vise to basically create a nice 90-degree angle in the sheet metal that was kind of uniform across the width there. Again, this bend is what's going to basically allow us to connect both the display to the bracket and the bracket to the GPU mount on the case itself. So it's important to get a nice 90-degree bend on this part here. Just a quick side note, I did utilize for this monitor M4-7 socket cap screws. They threaded perfectly in those 4 mounting holes. Also used some small washers just to kind of secure things up. And I did notice that the actual mounting holes in the LCD display are not very deep. And these are the shortest ones I had, so basically I screwed some nuts on the bottom of these socket cap screws so they wouldn't be quite as deep. So they would be nice and snug, but not punch through somewhere that they weren't supposed to. Alright, so with everything cut, drilled, and bent, I went ahead and just did a few passes with some spray paint to match the black color theme I have going on with the rest of the case. And then also in this picture you can see the 6mm screw and the nut that I'm using to actually secure this mounting bracket, or this plate, to the actual GPU bracket on the case. And here is the hole that I drilled in the actual GPU bracket that we'll be utilizing with that 6mm screw to secure the mounting plate to the case itself. Right, and here we have a picture of the mounting plate secured to the GPU bracket just before installing the actual display panel. So it kind of shows how that sits in front of that power supply. And again, that nut that's hanging down below the GPU bracket won't actually be seen once the display is mounted. And here's a nice close-up shot of the back of that mounting plate, again showing those socket cap screws securing the display to the plate. Very, very secure, no wiggle, so happy with how that turned out. And here's just kind of a shot of kind of the end result, hardware-wise. Everything's installed, looks great. I think that the actual size of this monitor is better than the last one too, because it fits the full length of that bracket better. So overall, very pleased with the actual mounting. And just kind of as a demonstration of the viewing angles, so here we have it head on, and again it's a pretty nice display. The text is very, very legible, comes out really crisp and clean. So a little side angle sweep and see how the viewing angles do. So still pretty good, still pretty good. So even off almost 180, I mean this thing you can still read the text on there. So again, pretty good viewing angles. Alright, so we've kind of walked through hardware-wise what it was done to get everything mounted and set up. Again, pretty simple. Didn't require any crazy tools, so most people could probably do this without any issues. One thing I will mention though is that in addition to the hardware itself and setting it up, you have to have something to display. So I chose to use CAM by NZXT to basically create this display widget, if you will, on this screen. And so let's jump onto the actual system itself and kind of see how I set that up, just for, again, I've had a lot of questions on this, so I just want to make it as clear as possible. So let's go ahead and jump over to the computer. Alright, so within Windows itself, to set that 4th display up, it's just like you would any other monitor. Just right-click your desktop, go to Display Settings, and you'll see here that it actually shows up as this small little monitor based on where I have it configured here. And if I go to Advanced Display Settings, lets me kind of modify the resolution. Now, this monitor does go up to 1200 by 800 as the max resolution right here, but I find that the widgets, if using CAM specifically, just look better at this resolution here. Otherwise, they're too small to be really useful kind of at a glance from where I'm standing. So I went ahead and set it as that resolution there. And what I also did is, being that CAM has kind of this two-tone, like black and gray color scheme, I also, within Photoshop, went ahead and set up a background because the CAM software itself isn't quite big enough to fill the whole screen. So basically now I have a background that'll match up with CAM when it's on this other display. So what I did is that typically within Windows you have to, if you want a background that's different, you have to use some third-party software. I'm personally using Display Fusion to run my 4 monitors, and so I have it set to where each one runs a separate wallpaper. And I loaded this custom one up down here, and then I just took this CAM software and dragged it down to where it needs to go down below. We'll go ahead and pop over and take a look at that. Okay, so like we mentioned before, I'm just going to take the CAM desktop here and bring it down to the other screen, line it up, and that looks pretty good. So again, my other backgrounds, they're kind of buffering on the sides. It doesn't look quite as, like it's so broken up and whatnot. Now from here, if you want to modify your colors in CAM, it's just, you just go to Setting. Bring this down a tad. So you go here to General, and then here you can click your accent color. You can modify your banner if you want to. You can set up your FPS overlay. So if you want, FPS or on-screen display on top of your gaming to monitor system stats, it'll do it inside here too. I don't think it's as useful as like Reba Tuner or as the MSI Afterburner. I think those do a little bit better job, but it's there. You can try it out, see if you like it. Anyways, when you're done with that, you can also modify your notifications. I have most of these turned off because I actually have a secondary widget on my desktop over on one of my left monitors that kind of lets me know if anything's going wrong with the system. But anyways, that's how you set up the customization in CAM. And then I just leave it there on the side, and from a glance where I'm sitting right now in front of my desktop, while standing in front of my setup, I can glance over quickly, see systems, the system temperature, see the GPU and CPU, see their loads, and it looks great from here. Everything's legible. So very, very happy with that and how it came together. And it's kind of a cool added bonus, since I didn't have need the other screen that I replaced this newer one with. I went ahead and just stuck it on my wall in my tool room, and now it's a dedicated secondary display for when I build these little Raspberry Pi systems, these RetroPie emulators. So that way my kids can come in, and maybe while Dad's working, they can game away. So that's fun to find a use for something I thought I was going to toss. Alright, so that's it. That's the walkthrough on basically how to create a secondary display to show system stats on your computer. If you have any questions, or if I wasn't clear on something, hit me up in the comments below. Happy to help out, and happy modding.